Greetings, my excellent friends.
Do you know when the Mongols ruled China?
Well, perhaps we could ask them. Bill S. Preston, Esquire, and Ted Theodore Logan. Gentlemen, I'm here to help you with your history report.
What? How?
Oh, I hate that part.
Bill? What? Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Dudes, you guys are gonna go back in time.
Yeah! You are going to have the most excellent adventure through history.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network, a weekly podcast discussing movie news, reviews, and recommendations. On our show this week, we'll be reviewing the latest in the DCU. On the show this week, we'll be reviewing the latest in the DCU, The Flash. We'll also be catching up with our weekly watching, followed by that feature review, and finally our recommendation shelf segment, where we'll be recommending some more films that feature time traveling. I am Nathan Shore, and with me are Eli Escobar, Sam Cole, and back for some more punishment is returning champion Mark Krawczyk.
Hello.
I love how I just blew our whole opening of the show, but that's okay.
It was good. It added character. Yeah.
That adds character. It's raw.
Yes, it does.
This is raw right here, folks. This is
Our cold open this week was a clip from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. We don't hear it when we're recording this, but clearly a film that has the laws of time travel right, wouldn't you say? No paradoxes or illogical contradictions in that film.
Sure. Time travel is. I mean, Doctor Who put it best. You know, it's timey-wimey, wibbly wobbly. It's like that with most films. Very few actually nail it and get it right. I think Bill and Ted's, the reason it works in Bill and Ted's because they keep it simple. They don't get into too much of the mechanics at all. You just accept that the future, they allow time travel and they're able to go back, and you get that seat in the cop, shop where they're like, we got to remember to put a trash can above. Never worry about logic of how they got the trash can there earlier and triggered it.
It's simple things like, well, I'll put my keys over here and oh, hey, yeah, I'm right. My keys are here.
They're my kind of people.
All you do is just think about it, and it's done.
That's right.
It's great.
They're my kind of people. Like, they don't think about it. There's no logic to anything.
No thinking. That's the key to time travel.
I love it. I love it.
Don't overthink it, because if you overthink it, you get it too complicated, and then you just.
Yeah, at least in like Bill and Ted, they don't try to overly explain the world like the Matrix Reloaded. Where you're like, oh, I'm getting hurt. Like when it's like, you remember the Matrix Reloaded? The guy, who's the guy in the room with all the monitors?
Yeah.
That guy, and he has like a 5-minute speech, and
the architect?
It makes the architect. Yeah, the architect makes my head hurt.
I refer to the architect all the time when I think about like how my world is being built. That's the problem. It's probably I overcomplicate it.
The Colonel Sanders of the virtual world as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. He had the white coat too. I think.
The white coat, and I think the little tie. I'm just like, oh my God, Colonel Sanders runs the Matrix. That explains so much.
I mean, and it was really cool in concept. It was just like the volume of like expository dialogue with just monitors. It was like, my God, yeah.
Well, no offense to the filmmakers, but they're making that. They're like, oh man, this is some heady sci-fi here. We're nailing this, and and everybody was like, we just are here for more bullet time. Can we go back to bullet time and Keanu running up walls and stuff? And then by the third one,
less architect, more Rufus is the key to life. Yep. Well, why don't we get going in this? Let's just catch up with everyone. What we do, Mark? We just kind of catch up with what we've been doing the past week, and just checking in with everyone. Who would like to begin? Outside of maybe the world of watching movies and TV is what we usually do. I know there is a life outside of movies. What? I know. We'll keep it kind of brief.
No, there isn't. Are you crazy? It's just movies.
It's just movies. Let's talk about movies if you like.
Okay.
Anybody want to just throw in something that they want to update us on?
I'll be the first one because I don't really have much to say except that I didn't do anything. Actually, I should say I didn't do anything. I did a few auditions this week and submitted to. I haven't heard back yet, but that's the nature of the job. I got some new books and then I worked. That's it.
Fantastic. Anyone
Next.
else? Yep. I like this. We could blow right through this.
So I went to Ace's Hardware, bought a bunch of stuff and gear and supplies, and I went up to New Hampshire, actually cleared out some forest and rebuilt in full scale the Honey I Shrunk the Kids set. And then I built it, I painted it, and shot a movie in 48 hours. None of that is true. I did nothing this week. Anyway, that's it. Yeah. I really did. I just did small errands this week. This is really, I got nothing over here. I got nothing.
I try to.
What do you got to do?
I don't think too much about how much or what I've been doing, but we recorded a couple podcasts. This is Month of the Hunters month on our podcast. So we're doing movies that have the word hunter in the title. And so we covered Red, Werewolf Hunter. We covered Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, and Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. And I guess it's one thing. I got a chance to interview Felicia Day of the Guild and of many, many different shows about Red, the Werewolf Hunter. So that was interesting. But other than that, movie reviews, watching movies, reviewing, and then Father's Day, I got to grill. I made grilled chicken breasts on the grill for the first time. I got a brand new grill, got an early Father's Day gift, so got to break it in ahead of time. And
wasn't that Foreman grill? Was it?
Huh? No, it wasn't the Foreman. It wasn't the George Foreman grill. No, but I made chicken breasts for the first time, and it turned out really good. So they didn't dry out. So yay!
Fantastic. Mark, I should have mentioned where you have your own outlets for your reviews. You should mention that here. Many outlets. But, I want people to know because this might be the first time they've heard the show, or because you were on here before, but you should mention.
I was very happy to be on here so we could go through our therapy session of dealing with 65. That was great.
And also, when you were here before, the show was not a hit, but now it is huge.
Yeah,
I keep saying to New York City, I'm like, we'll get to you. Hold on. We got to record first, then we can do a deal.
You're on the waiting list, New York. Just wait.
I'm trying. There's still a lot of phone calls. What do you want me to do?
We're soon to be Jimmy Fallon, by the way.
That's true. Yeah.
Fallon,
syndication. Here you come. But I guess if you want to look at my stuff, we're celebrating 10 years of my podcast, The Spoiler Room, this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we do a special series every year. And this year we call it a Perfect 10 series, which is we're looking at movies that are celebrating their 10th anniversary as well. And we randomly pick one each month as we dwindle down the list, and then that picks my theme for the next month. So this month was Night of the Hunters, Month of the Hunters, because we did Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter, which came out 10 years ago, surprisingly.
Wow.
But
I remember that, yeah.
But I've got everything on my website, specialmarkproductions.com. I've got a TikTok where I do 1-minute movie reviews of wide release films because everybody else has already done reviews by the time I go see it. So why not spend just more than a minute on the review?
Have you revisited Star Trek Into Darkness from 2013? That would be a good one.
It didn't make the list because every year what I do is I pick the bulk of the movies, and then for 3 months I have my listeners vote on which movies.
Oh, cool! That's awesome. Process, nice.
And so I picked 30 movies from 2013, and then I had people vote and then I tallied them up, and then I take the top 12. Well, in this case, 13, because I can't count. So we had 13, but and I take those, and those are the ones that we cover throughout the year. And so,
Nice.
yeah. One year we did 52. I called it 52 degrees to Kevin Bacon. And basically what it was is, you know, there's 4 weeks in a month, I believe, usually. And so what we would do is we picked a Kevin Bacon movie to cover. And then the next 3 movies I linked via 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon formula. Only on the 3rd movie, I had to link it back to another Kevin Bacon film for the top of the month. And I mapped out the entire 52 weeks. And let me tell you, I will never do that again. It was fun. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. But wow, I worked in animated.
Wow.
I even brought it back to in December once I hit, because I think the last one we hit was the car where he was the cop. He was the dirty cop or what, the sheriff?
Cop Car.
Cop Car. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
We hit that
Good
in December.
movie.
It was. And we hit that in December. And I'm like, well, what do I got to do with the rest of the month? I know. His wife, Kira Sedgwick, did the voice over the radio. So the last month of December was animated films with voice actors, which I was able to bring back to our final episode, which was Friday the 13th, because the truck driver in Friday the 13th did the voice for the horse in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh my God.
Okay, so long story short, too late, but that's my spiel. But yeah, specialmarkproductions.com is where you got everything, and links to everything that I do. So yeah, but yeah, the 52 degrees was insane. Doing that. What was more insane is while I was doing it and trying to map it out with about 80 IMDb tabs, is finding out how many actors did work together like during the 90s. It's actually amazing. Like there was a core group of actors that seemed to be in like everything.
Lots of crossover, yeah.
Not just Kevin Bacon. It was just a lot of crossover. I'm like, I'd start follow a thread. I'm like, oh wait, they're in this movie? You know,
Nice.
There was a movie called Midsummer's Night where they did the film version of the Shakespeare play, and that had like every actor known to man during that time in it. It was crazy.
I remember that movie, I think.
All right.
So.
Only thing that I had going on over the past week is probably not very interesting to our audience, but I took my 6-year-old to a father-daughter dance, and it was decades themed, and it was supposed to be you dress your kids up in any decade you'd want, and of course, people of our generation, we dressed them up in 80s attire. So she was in this really awesome, looked like Madonna and Cyndi Lauper had a love child. But parents are supposed to dress up too. At least that's what my wife said. You have to get dressed up as well. I'm like, do I really have to? So I did. And I couldn't think of anything.
Did you learn how to re-roll your pants?
Well, what I did was I have a lot of like Hawaiian shirts.
Oh, there you go.
And I actually also have almost every single team baseball cap.
Nice.
There is. So I have a Hawaiian shirt. I have a Detroit Tigers cap.
Nice.
Anyone know where I'm going yet? Okay, hold on. So then,
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know yet. So then, like, all right. So I run out to Party City. I get this big, thick mustache.
Yeah.
I go as Magnum PI.
Yes. Did you have?
Problem is the mustache wasn't really wide enough, so it only went like this wide. So I show up. Hold on, and okay. There's a cockroach there. Oh, good.
Well, if someone ate it, then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, no, my first name is Estella, right?
Definitely don't edit this out. This is good for the video podcast.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this is
Don't
life,
edit
man.
it.
This
Oh
is
my
life,
God.
man.
So the problem is that I was only maybe out of, I don't know, 150 parents, only maybe like 8 parents actually got dressed up for this. So and problem is because of the small little mustache, everyone thought it was Mario. Mario. I got that all night long.
Sure. Yeah, that's
You're like,
exactly what I
yeah.
was going for. You bet.
Nobody got it. These are parents that grew. You know, the problem is I'm an older parent than most parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Mario just came out, so it was sad.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother correcting anybody. Yep, Mario. I don't know where they got that from.
Like, yep, Mario.
That's funny.
All right.
By the way, because of your misunderstood, everyone thought you were Mario, but you were Magnum PI, right?
Yes.
Because if in the spirit of police like stories, I do have the entire series of TJ Hooker.
Oh wow!
Very excited! Yeah, very excited to enjoy this at some
Oh
point.
my
Yeah.
god!
It's like 80s greatness, cheesiness. I love it.
Nice.
That's William Shatner going, I can do something other than Kirk. And,
He's like, then that was the captain of this McCall.
I thought that you were gonna say that you were Ernie from Ernie's.
Oh.
Yeah, for some reason when you started describing it in a mustache, all I could think it was Ernie. You know who Ernie is, right? Like the guy that's dead. Am I saying it right?
Ernest?
He's like Ernest.
Ernest.
No, the guy that's
I think Bert and Ernie.
We need to review Ernest Goes to Camp. You just said Ernest.
No, not him.
Awesome.
No,
Ernest
Bernie's,
Goes to Jail is good too. He saves Christmas. There's so many more. There's one where he
that
like
guy
finds a
that's
jewel. It's
dead.
amazing. Sorry to hijack it, but Ernest is awesome. Anyway, continue.
it's the guy that's dead, and they go to a party, and they like.
Oh, Bernie.
Oh, Weekend at
at
Bernie.
Bernie's.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bernie.
Yes.
Yeah. When you said Ernie, I thought you meant Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street. And I was like, I get it, but I didn't get the connection. Now I get it. Yeah.
With the first film starring Catherine Mary Stewart. So
Yeah.
I will see if I can put a picture in the show description, the show notes.
You have to know
of my outfit. It would have worked better if it was a full mustache, and
but
I almost had
short.
Yeah. Anyways, whatever. That was my week.
But see, if you would have drove up in a Trans Am, they would have known.
Oh, I needed a Ferrari.
The Ferrari.
The red Ferrari.
Yeah,
that's
Ferrari.
what it was.
That would be funny if they mistaked you for like Daniel.
Was it a Ferrari?
Yeah. It was.
I kept telling people like Higgins parking in the shade, and nobody was getting it. Like nobody. I'm in another generation. I don't know. Anyway, they're probably thinking like they're probably thinking the new Magnum PI the show. You know, they're just
Yeah, that's true. They might be thinking of the new Magnum.
Yeah.
But
who knows? Whatever.
I think that's a female now. But anyway.
Whatever. I never watched it. All right, let's move. Let's move on here.
Moving
on. I don't want to talk. It pains me. It pains me. All right.
Let's watch Always.
It was a shameful night. My
Ellie,
daughter
we're gonna watch
time.
Always. Yeah. Would you want to see Always, Ellie? We're gonna watch it right now.
And then 65.
We're gonna watch Always right now. Change of plans.
We can watch Knock at the Cabin again too.
Yes.
Yes.
Best show ever.
Torture. It's just torture.
Right.
And I wouldn't lie.
Let's quickly get to our weekly watches, where each of us will talk briefly on what we've been watching the past week. Mark, you are our guest, so we'll throw you into the fire first. And you have a couple titles here that look interesting. Why don't you tell us what you've been watching?
Well, I've been trying to keep up and catch up on all these screeners and such that I asked to review. And so I got to see a couple from a release company called Unearthed Films, which dig up really obscure but extreme horror. So it's for select tastes. It's not for everyone. And so there is a sequel to a film called La Petite Mort, I believe it was called. It was from the early aughts or whatnot. Basically kind of a Hostel type of film. Only this case, it's a club, and they get clients, and then they film. It's basically snuff movies and that, and fetish films. Well, they made a sequel called La Petite Mort 2, so I watched that. My review for that will drop this coming week. It's interesting. They took a completely different approach to it. And I didn't even think they'd make a sequel to it. Nothing really called for a sequel to the original, but hey. And then Sound of Summer is I believe it's from Japan. It's basically about a woman who, during a warm summer, cicadas hatched, which is a huge problem. They're like a pest there, but they're making noises constantly, which kind of drives her insane, and she starts hallucinating and thinking she sees a cicada man, and that really gets bizarre. And then I saw a Cocaine Shark, because since
What?
since Cocaine Bear actually hit it big, there's been a slew of projects released, and some of them fast
Of course,
tracked,
there is.
involving drugs and animals.
They
My
should
bet-
do a PG-13 lighter one called like Beer Monkey or something.
Beer Monkey. Oh my God! Now I want a Beer Monkey. I want a movie called Beer Monkey. That's
It's like,
it.
he throws
Hey,
it, you know.
I'm from Wisconsin. We could make that easy. Someone around here's got to have a monkey, and we got plenty of beer. So there you go. But
It's a good film. Yeah.
Cocaine Shark was made by Mark Polonia, and if you're familiar with Mark Polonia's work at all, again, select tastes, small budget films, like minimal budget stuff. But some of them have charm. Some of them not so much. But they're definitely, they've got a fun spirit to them, kind of reminding me of old B monster films, with the stop motion and the really bad puppetry. So yeah, Cocaine Shark. Also looking for there was a film, I don't know for sure if it's for real, but there was a title called Meth Lab, which involves a dog. It's a Labrador, which is like the best title ever. And then what other ones are coming out I haven't seen yet, but is there's a Crackoon. That's a project getting funded. Asylum Pictures just came out with Meth Gator, which is coming out.
Yeah, Meth Gator. I like that title.
It's going to
Yeah,
be
that's a
coming
good
out
movie.
next month. And there's a couple others too. I think someone's releasing a movie about a snake that gets into marijuana, so it's just the opposite of Cocaine Bear. And so there you go. So, but so keeping up on that and doing some screeners is what I've been watching. So.
You're doing God's work there, Mark.
A young Burt Reynolds would be good to star in Meth Gator. If he fought Meth Gator, like that'd be an awesome movie right there. And it had like a real like Southern charm. He was like that Meth Gator. God damn it.
I feel so bad for these animals. Poor
I know,
things.
it's terrible.
Met spider.
Meth
You know,
Spider.
I feel like there'll be an
Spider.
organization. It's a matter of time before an organization comes out and gets set up just to fight back for all these cruelty against these animals, thinking that these are real movies,
Yeah.
real crimes against these animals.
The American.
It's a matter of
Humane
time.
Society.
It's gonna happen. You know it.
All right. Thank you, Mark,
You're welcome.
for keeping us abreast
That's
of what's
beautiful.
happening. And
I never had a cocaine shark.
Sam or Ellie, who would like to also contribute?
So I actually only saw one movie this week. Well, actually two if you include The Flash. But I was just editing the latest episode of my YouTube adventure series, Walks of World. Finished that, put that online, and then I actually watched all of. It was on HBO. Ron Howard's The Missing. Decent movie. I've always kind of liked it. It got middling reviews. I don't think it did that great at the box office. I can understand the middling reviews. Like it's not amazing, but I like the story. I like the suspense. I just like the simplicity and elegance of it. A father is reunited with his like estranged daughter. Her kid is kidnapped by Indians, and so the father and the daughter have to reunite to go get her daughter and like get the family back together. And it's just a good, decent thriller. Some good scenes, pretty good emotional payoffs. Not amazing. There's some middling scenes and a lot of sort of unfocused scenes at times, but I enjoyed the movie a lot. So that's what I saw this week. Honestly, not a very cinematic week for me. Just one film, but saw The Flash, and that is honestly about it.
All right. Good. All right. Ellie.
Unlike myself that lives in a movie Bubble. So I have no life. I obviously have no life. Look, I watched Hidden 2015 in Amazon. I watched No Limits. That's a French movie. It's a kind of based on a true story from the she's not Olympics, but she is a young woman who does free diving,
Mm.
which I
Mhm.
find absolutely incredible that these people do this and basically just go like 180. I'm not good with math. I want to say
Mhm.
meters down the ocean in the darkness with just basically holding their breath. And I'm like, I'm just this woman did that. And the word is that she was killed by her boyfriend because he was the one that taught her how to do free diving. And they think that he might have killed her because he was jealous, and took all the air of the because the way they do free diving is they go down like 180 meters. She was like one of the best, and the way they come back up is they have this tank that has air like a balloon, and she opens it up, and the balloon air makes her go all the way up, right, back up to the surface.
Mhm.
Well, her balloon didn't open this time around, and they think it was someone tampered with that and killed her. But I really enjoyed it. There were some really great cinematography shots in this film. It's on Netflix actually, so it's a 2022 film. Then I saw The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. Do you guys know about that?
I don't.
Okay, let me just tell you. So it's a documentary. It's new, 2023, and it's in Hulu, I think. Yeah, it's in Hulu, and it's Hulu or HBO, one or the other, forget. And it basically is this couple, very very wealthy couple, adopted this young girl, and they thought that she was from an orphanage in Ukraine, and they thought that she was just a little girl. And supposedly when the stepmom was giving her a bath, she saw pubic hair and she had a period. And so they started wondering, is she a little girl? Because she also had she's a dwarf, and she had some illness. She was, she disabled. And so basically they adopt her. They don't like the fact that she may be older than 6 years old, and they start to investigate, but they can't find a lot of where she came from. They only know that she came from Ukraine, and it's such a sad story because you don't know who to believe. You don't know, because they say that she was evil and she was trying to kill the family with a knife. And she was at night when they were sleeping, she was trying to poison the family. But eventually they request for her to change her age from being like a young girl to being 22 years old. Or
Oh wow.
yeah, and the judge agrees to it. And they basically rent an apartment for her, and they drop her into that apartment and they leave her alone. Later, it is believed that she actually was 16 years old when they left her alone in that
Wow.
apartment. Yeah, and so another couple found out about it, and they took her under their wing, and they brought this wealthy couple to court for abuse and neglect, and they went free. At the end of the documentary, the couples go free. Nothing happens to them.
Wow.
So the documentary left me with I don't think the little girl was out to kill them. I think they lied. I think
Mm.
they didn't know what to do with her afterwards, and they didn't want to deal with it. So she just created this story that she was 22 years old. You know. Then I watched To Leslie. Nef- I did. I for so long I did not want to watch the film, and then I watched the film. I loved it.
Didn't we review that?
That was
What
our
do you?
first review.
What?
Yeah.
No,
And
was it?
yeah,
No, but I
yes.
couldn't. I couldn't. I don't think I could contribute because I didn't watch To Leslie.
Yeah,
Remember?
because I let's not.
Yeah.
We'll get into this offline.
Yeah,
But there was a
so-
big miscommunication. Like,
Oh,
let's
I
watch
remember that. I
Leslie.
remember
And
now.
like,
Yeah.
who's Leslie?
Yeah, I remember. That was funny. Yeah.
And then I watched Black Mirror season 6,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And it's on Netflix. If you like that kind of weird.
I don't know why I have not gotten into Black Mirror, because it's the kind of thing that'd be right up my alley. But I just
It
haven't
is
had
really
put in the time.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much as season 1, but it was entertaining. So yeah, I was entertained this whole week.
Good. I'll get into a few things I've seen. I was very excited that one of my favorite sketch comedy shows returned recently. It's called I Think You Should Leave. This is season 3. It's a Netflix original. This is a show from actor, comedian, writer Tim Robinson. And if you don't know who he is, he's a very funny man. He's worked on SNL as a writer and performer, and he has lended his voice talents to many very funny shows like Human Resources, Teenage Euthanasia, Our Cartoon President. This guy keeps popping up everywhere. Anyways, I Think You Should Leave falls under the category of cringe comedy. The sketches are completely absurd, and often what you think is the point of the sketch at the beginning has nothing to do with where it's going to end up. That's what I love about the show. It really subverts what sketch comedy can be. It goes off on tangents. It's crude, offensive, and bizarre. Picture SNL sketches if absolutely insane people were in charge of the network. Plus, each episode is a perfect length. It's about 15 minutes long each episode, and the season is only 6 episodes. So you can watch this whole thing in less time it takes to watch 65, I guess, the whole season. So that's I Think You Should Leave season 3, and it's streaming on Netflix. But watch the all 3 seasons. It's really worth it. It's a lot of fun. I also been doing some last minute homework, anticipating watching The Flash this weekend, which I didn't get to do, but that's why Mark is here. But so I rewatched the 1989 Tim Burton classic Batman, starring Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and Kim Basinger. You know, I totally forgot when I started watching this that Jack Nicholson gets top billing in this film.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's he's the first name in the opening credits. That was interesting. It's fascinating watching this film and understanding the technical achievement. It must have been pulling this off. It's movies just are not made like this anymore. If this was made today, it would just be a CGI fest, which that's how it would be. That's all they are now. I watched this on my big family room TV with full immersive sound one night, a few nights ago. And man, I just felt all the feels like I was 14 again watching this. It was just wonderful. I love the practical sets, the costuming, and that Danny Elfman score is so wonderful. It's nothing. It is incredible, Sam. It is. I think the performances are just so wonderfully unhinged in this, and it's just a perfect movie. It really is. Tim Burton gets Batman, and what a shame that the template that he set forth in this film wasn't really translatable to his predecessor. We won't name names, but then again, he's Tim Burton. He's one of a kind. But Batman is streaming on Max right now, and it's also available on VOD. So I had a great time rewatching this. I probably haven't seen it in like 14 or 15 years, but I loved seeing it again. First time I probably saw it on a home theater, a really good home theater system. So it was.
I love
nice.
that movie, and it just my personal taste, but I like it infinitely better than Batman Returns, the sequel. Even though that's like good, I prefer.
I like them both almost as much. I like
them both. It's good. I just like the first one, Batman '89, Jack Nicholson. Like to me, that's that, and with the whole ending scene, like in the tower and the church, it's incredible. Like it's so gothic. That movie.
Oh no, that's my milestone film. Or fixed points in time. You get those. They talk about it. We all have those certain movies that are the movie, like that influential movie that hit you so hard that's that movie for you. That, and Batman '89 is that movie for me. That movie it opened up so much, made me appreciate film. I was in high school. It came out in '89. I was a freshman in high school, and I was so blown away by that film that it influenced me. One of those influential films that you hear it sounds cheesy, but it is true. That's one of them.
Yeah.
To where I've watched it so many times. I have so much Batman stuff. I've got a Batman '89 teaser poster my buddy got for me. It's beautiful, and yeah, I love that movie. Is fantastic.
It's like Batman is 1989, 91 is Terminator 2.
Right?
For me, 93 is Jurassic Park, and 1970 is Two Mules for Sister Sarah. That year is associated with that film. There's no other film like that.
Right. So the last thing I'll mention is, if our listeners have been following since the beginning of the show, I've been on a Billy Wilder retrospective, my own personal journeys for the past 8 months or so, and I watched what I think is one of his most beloved comedies, and it's Some Like It Hot from 1959. It stars Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, and Marilyn Monroe. The plot is about two male musicians who witness a mob hit, and they flee Chicago to Florida dressed as women in an all-female band. Now, I have seen this one before. It's been quite some time. The first thing that struck me as I'm rewatching this is, damn, I think the world has forgotten how amazing Jack Lemmon was as an actor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I maybe we haven't forgotten, but he is so good in this. He was nominated for Best Actor in this film and lost out to Charlton Heston for Ben-Hur. Actually, I've never seen Ben-Hur, so I'm not gonna throw stones. I don't know if how. I haven't seen it yet.
I do love that movie.
Ben-Hur is a great movie.
It's unbelievable.
Charles Heston is great.
But Jack Lemmon is incredible in this film. It's a real tour de force performance. Keep in mind, this film came out in 1959, and you've got two of the biggest Hollywood stars dressed in drag for almost this entire movie. No, it's not tackling huge social issues head on. It glosses over a lot of opportunities for the filmmakers to really dive into gender politics. But the cojones for the writer-director Billy Wilder and United Artists to put this movie out in 59 is amazing. It's a really landmark movie. And looking back at it now, who knew this movie was going to be so prescient and prophetic, really? So this is a fantastic film. And I am not telling most people anything new, but it really is a delight seeing this. And it's really funny for a movie that is 60 something years old. It is hysterical, even for today's standards. It's got some really sharp comedy in it.
Anything Jack Lemmon does is hysterical. I love everything. I think I watched a lot of his films, and I just love him.
I need to see more of his films because I think he is. I think he's kind of forgotten in a lot of ways. I don't think he's thought about much. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
He's from Newton, Mass originally, right?
Is he? I didn't know that. I forgot that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's from Newton.
I think they get away with Some Like It Hot. I think they get away with the comedy, and having your two main characters in drag so much is because they got Marilyn Monroe in there as well. So the producers are like, you are talking 59 or whatever. So you're balancing that out. Yeah, you've got your main male characters dressed as women, but you got Marilyn. So, all right, we'll let you have this film because you've got that. And, I think people forget. I mean, look at Jack Benny's whole thing. People talk about it now. I mean, it's in such conversation, Bugs Bunny dressed in drag or whatnot. I'm like, well, that's because he was based off of Jack Benny who would dress in drag. I mean, it's still problematic with the humor of maybe what the intent was always. But at the same time, you still had the act of that happening. And that was something, and especially for Some Like It Hot. It's we covered that on our podcast a while ago, and I was impressed by how that still holds up today quite a bit.
Yeah. So that is what we have been watching. It is time to get to our main review, The Flash.
Tell me something. You can go anywhere. Another timeline. Another universe. So why do you want to stay I fight to save this one. Because this is the world where my mom lives. I'm not gonna lose her again.
Time has a pattern that it can't help reliving. Different people, different worlds, drawn to each other like magnets.
It's my face. You stole my face.
If you were to go into the past, you have no idea what the consequences can be.
Bruce, I could fix things.
You can also destroy everything.
This can't be happening. I completely broke the universe.
Zod,
We've been waiting for you.
I created a world with no metahumans. And now there's no one to defend us.
want some help?
We just heard a clip from the trailer of The Flash. And full transparency, everyone, I did not watch The Flash this past
I knew you were going to say
weekend.
something else.
Some people, I tell you.
Maybe I did Flash, but I did not watch The Flash.
Did you say I flashed?
I flashed. No. No.
I hope you were
But,
wearing a trench coat when you were doing it.
Yeah, me too.
No. But
Or at least
yeah,
plant,
it
plant.
was not in the cards for me this weekend, but this is why we have some extra help this weekend to be a part of the review for this show. So thank you, Mark, for joining us. And why don't we get into it? I will just kind of sit back and let you guys do your thing as I will just go along for the ride and let myself be spoiled. But I will maybe there's a chance I'll get to it before the show gets edited. We'll see. You never
There you
know.
go. You never know.
So who would like to begin with their initial non-spoiler thoughts on The Flash?
I loved it.
Ella, you go.
I loved it. 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 I loved everything about this film so much that I'm gonna go back and watch again with my little nephew. He's 14, and yeah, we're gonna go back next week or maybe this week, and we're gonna rewatch the Flash. Yeah, I loved it. I loved everything about it, and that's what I'm gonna say. Because then, if I do go into it, I'm gonna spoil it, and I know me, I will spoil it. So I'll wait for spoilers.
Sam, I'll you know, I shake you for it. No, just kidding.
What you go first, Mark? What do you think? I'm curious. What's your thoughts? Yeah.
Well, I've got kind of a nickname of the DC shill among some of my critic friends. I do like the DC films more than a lot of my friends, especially those folks that I do know who are critics. But for me, I went in cautious because, and I was very impressed with it. I loved it. I mean, it's got some warts. It does still have some problems. I think a lot of people are having problems separating reality, the events of the real world from the film. But taking the film by itself, I think it does what it needs to do. I was very surprised by it. There were a few times where I actually was just leaning forward in my seat smiling. I'm not spoiling it yet, but I'm just going to tell you, if you gathered what I mentioned earlier in the podcast, why I was smiling, oh yeah, there were parts where I was a kid again. I was that 13-year-old kid. Let me tell you, I was just ear to ear. But it was far better than I thought it was. It was enjoyable. The CGI, is the only thing that was rough, though they said that was an artistic choice. And I think, that was a misstep, not for me personally, but for your general audience who are on the fence about DC. But overall, it's entertaining, especially, I will say, not giving spoilers, but I think I'm glad they had the supporting characters around the title character, because if it was just the title character, this film probably would have been a lot more problems. But the way they wrote it in that, you could tell they were They did this with a concept in mind that, I'm not going to say it felt like a Marvel film, but I will say that it felt like a fun comic book film, and it hit a lot more wonderful nostalgic notes more than I thought they were going to. I thought it was just going to be a gimmick, the nostalgia part, and it wasn't, and I was happy for that. So,
yeah, I liked it. Like, I solidly enjoyed it. I was not blown away. Like, I didn't think it was amazing, but I kind of went in with like no expectations. And it's funny because the on Rotten Tomatoes the critic score is lower, like around 65, but the audience score is 88, and so I think people genuinely liked it, and I can see why. I thought it was pretty good. I thought like Andre Muschietti's direction was clear. Like, the action scenes had a good sense of space. I thought the dialogue was funny. I thought the story was crisp. I didn't know at all what was going to happen in this movie. I just it's a tough one for me to review because I solidly enjoyed it, but I did not, like you mentioned, that you sort of felt like a kid again. And I can totally understand why. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the mood I was in or whatever, but it didn't quite have that strong effect on me, even though I enjoyed it. Like, I certainly did enjoy it. And I thought the movie was like a lot of fun and like clever in its storytelling. Just not mind blowing. It was like, it felt like a really good, like, B movie to me, like B plus, and spoiler free, I will say that, and this is like in the trailers, like everyone knows this, but I will say that I did love Michael Keaton's performance. Like, it was great to see him again. I thought that was amazing. Like, I don't know, I hate to sound so boring. I just I solidly liked it, but I've seen a lot of other movies with a similar energy. So to me, I was just like, oh, that was good. And I wanted to feel that elevated rush. And I didn't quite feel it, but I acknowledge I'm definitely towards the positive. Like, I liked the film. I thought it was decent and some really good action scenes, like without going into detail, the desert scene and the like third act was pretty good. But yeah, so that's where I am, like middling.
I'm going to ask one question because I haven't seen this, but I'm assuming that there's a time travel multiverse aspect to this movie. Seems like there's a lot of multiverse going on here. This movie underperformed.
It did. It really underperformed. Yeah.
Do you sense there is multiverse fatigue going on that's affecting things?
Either multiverse fatigue or people just weren't that interested in seeing it and just continued to go see Spider-Man because it's, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's like amazing. And so, and I've listened to your guys' podcast on it, but like, I think, what's funny is that like, I think there is multiverse fatigue. However, the storytelling in this movie, I will say, it's the time travel element. And
is there an Ezra Miller factor? Is there a multiverse factor? Is there just an overall DC factor of like, what is the point of all of this? When there's a whole new regime.
No, it's Ezra Miller factor for sure. That's one of them. Second of all, DC has always been on the rocks when it came to comic book films. You also are hitting comic book movie fatigue. Into the Spider-Verse is an animated film that's different enough that a lot of people went to it because they loved the first one, and it's a really solid film. I love it. I thought it was great, but it's a different comic book film, so you can get behind it. Even Guardians of the Galaxy didn't do quite as well as they expected. People are just in comic book movie fatigue in general, I think. Topple that on all the other problems that normally come with the history of DC films makes so many people hesitant. And I'm going to also add the fact that nowadays, as we kind of alluded to in the earlier, movies are coming out very quickly to streaming now. Like, really quick to stream. I mean, even those that make like $80 or $100 million at the opening weekend are going to streaming at 2 or 3 weeks. So in all honesty, anybody who's on the fence with The Flash is going to just wait for it for streaming. It is, there's so much of that going around now with films that people aren't quite set with.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the sort of like comic book fatigue, because I was thinking there's a lot of perfectly good, energetic, spectacular action scenes in this movie. And had I seen this exact film like 10 years ago, I would have been blown away. I think it's because there's so many others like it, and there's so much saturation that because there's so many of those types of films to choose from, I just felt like this was kind of middling but good. And in spite, like not including Ezra Miller's like controversy, just talking about the performance itself, I thought his acting was good. Like I thought it was decent. The two versions of him, I was engaged in the story. I just for some reason I wasn't like blown away. You know,
This film needed to come out right after Justice League. Like,
yeah,
this had
was supposed to.
This should have been the film to come out right after Justice League. Justice League wasn't that great, but at the same time, I think if you follow Justice League up with this film rather than was it Shazam and then Aquaman. I think if you follow up with this one instead, I think
it was supposed to. This was supposed to be the very first multiverse movie that we were supposed to get.
And it's sad.
Interesting.
It's sad that they didn't get it out because it was in development hell, problems with Ezra, all kinds of problems. The whole hoopla with Zack Snyder. I think if this film comes out right after Justice League, DC is sitting in a different spot now than where it's at. And you're right.
It's too bad because I feel like this film actually handled the multiverse in the most interesting way. Like I felt like I was watching the origin of the multiverse in this film in more of an engaging way than say like Spider-Man No Way Home.
Or even, and don't get me wrong, I loved it because it was Sam Raimi being Sam Raimi with a budget. But even Multiverse of Madness, this film really, outside of the Spider-Verse, this film handles, I think for the live action films, handles the multiverse explanation the best, especially that representation at the end, which I'm sure we'll get to with the spoilers. But overall, I think it handles it really well.
Yeah, the storytelling was really clear in this movie. Like that's what I just was really, I was understood what was going on immediately. I was on board. I followed it. I liked the places they went to. Like it worked. It functioned, you know, like,
yeah.
Because sometimes a lot of these like ensemble movies sometimes have a lot of like clunky plots, you know, banging into each other. And there's like, gets a lot lost in translation. But this movie, the story was focused, clear protagonist, clear story, interesting message, like decent. It's really solid. I like that. Yeah.
Well, and with this one too, it's one of those where you see it in a trailer. It's not a spoiler, but Supergirl and Batman aren't just gimmicks. They
right, exactly.
They don't just show up and boom, you go. We get a story with them, though Supergirl gets the least amount of time, but she made the biggest impression, and you have the entire internet going, we need a Supergirl movie with her now, please, because she made every scene she was in. She made the most of it.
She was excellent.
Sasha Calle's Supergirl. I'm there. Give me that movie with her in it. You know, so I mean, the cameos that show up are not just gimmicks either. They're worked into the plot. We get story with them, and yeah, overall, I was far impressed that it was better than what it. The only person that I didn't quite care for was the title character, and until like 2/3 of the way into the movie, and then I kind of warmed up to his version. But I've never enjoyed Ezra's version of Barry Allen. He's never quite clicked with me. Nothing against him or anything. It's just either the way it's written or whatnot. I think he's almost a little too quirky. And so, you know, it took a little while getting used to, but he changes in this film too. So
I know what you mean. It's like a little in your face quirkiness. It sometimes works. It sometimes doesn't. Like it's not terrible, but you kind of feel the effort going in. Like you feel like that it's being pushed. It's not like totally different person, but like, you know, Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, he just is that character and you just accept it and it works. This, you felt like it was like trying a little hard, you know?
Well, his quirks are uneven in this. Like he's awkward here, now then he's not. And then and I understand it's part of the story arc, but at the same time, I'm like, I would have liked a little bit more consistency, because there's parts where I really like him in, and then there's parts where, like I said, the last half of the film or the last third of the film, I really enjoyed him in. It was just getting there with his character that I was like, give me more Supergirl and Batman.
Yeah, I did find the humor though. This is not a spoiler. I'll just like talk about it. But when the younger version of himself like has the power and runs out into the street and like makes the car flip around and all the like band equipment falls out and he basically just creates a disaster by accident. I was like laughing. Like there was some humor in this movie that I found really funny, and I have to give credit to Ezra Miller playing his younger self. That character was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like for me, I was just like, this guy, because he was so like uncontrollable teenager, then like older, mature him was like, damn it, focus, It's but yeah, I hear that.
Do you guys want to move on to spoilers?
You kind of just gave away a spoiler, Sam.
It was sort of a spoiler. Yeah, let's go spoilers.
It was in the trailers.
It's in the trailers. No, I haven't heard anything that I didn't already know. So, but I think it's time to move on to spoilers if it works for everyone.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to spoilers now.
What's funny is we talked about, trying to give a general description, but the trailer was a spoiler in itself for a lot of this film, unfortunately.
I didn't see the trailer actually. So
then you lucked out. But if you saw the trailer, a good chunk of some of the reveals in that were like your main points, except for the very end. It's the stuff that's spoilery isn't really story-wise as it is cameos and things that they did.
I thought I hear that. I thought the visual effects that I did like was when he would run really fast and he realized that he could go back in time, and he just sort of sees his past as these they're like almost in like an arena around him. But then like, I love that you find out that demonic creature that he sees running around in the multiverse is actually the other version of him who gets stuck in a time loop and never ever gives up on trying to fix things which can't be fixed, which like Michael Keaton's Batman like warned us about. So I thought that was cool. Like I thought the script was pretty, like there was planting and paying off of things that was good. That's what I meant where my review is positive. Just not glowing, because I thought it was good and I've seen other movies like it. It didn't reach that like next level of the mountain for me, but the one scene that I thought could have been better, I thought the like CGI battle with it's General Zod, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
He was in Superman. Like when Zod comes and like attacks the desert battle with him in the third act, I thought there were some parts of the CGI where I was like, this could be a little bit better. Or I thought the scene could have been a little bit more dynamic. Like I'm really into action and set pieces and how they're done. And I thought that was a pretty good scene, but not amazing.
See, I love how you guys describe the film, because you describe it from a different point of view than I would describe it, because you guys go into the technical part and the CGI and all that stuff, and I'm like, whatever. I just kind of want to go watch a film and love it and entertain me. And so I wasn't paying attention to the little CGI details because, first of all, it's like, but what did get to me is the story. And that's what I connected with. If I can see a superhero movie that I can connect, because to me, superheroes are like, like whatever, another superhero movie, right? But and I love Marvel and I love Captain America and I in DC world, but my guy is not Batman, is Superman. And to me, seeing the Superman that I grew up with that passed away was
amazing.
Very touching to me, like I was like teary eye, like, oh my God, there he is, that was my Superman of my era. And then so the Batman, to see, Michael Keaton looks great at 70 what?
Yeah.
70 something.
I thought Michael
looks
Keaton's
amazing.
performance was excellent. It made me want like a Tim Burton Batman 3 with him.
This is the Batman sequel we wanted. The third Batman film. This is as close as we were going to get with.
I know it feels like Batman 3. That's what I like about it. And they play the the Danny Elfman music theme, Batman theme a lot in it, Nathan. Like you would really enjoy that. Yeah. It's well done too. Yeah.
It was so cool. Like Michael Keaton was just so cool. His scenes I really loved, and it was so cool to see him back in action. And then for me, I connected because obviously I'm a Latino mom, and I when I cook, I dance to and that song in the film, sorpresas te da la vida te da sorpresas, and it's like something that I grew up with my mom in the kitchen dancing.
Yeah, sure.
So I was like, oh, look. And so this is so cool. And I just, Ezra, first of all, I didn't know what to expect. I was just walking into the cinema like, yeah, whatever. It's another, another this sheet, whatever. I'm going to go see it. But then the thing starts. And from that moment, it just got me with I laugh at anything and everything. That's just me. So
the humor was funny in this movie. It got to me too. It worked. Yeah.
It really did. Yeah. It made me cry. It made me laugh. Like I was laughing really hard. It made me cry, laugh. It made me hungry. Every time Ezra will end, like he would just I legit made spaghetti that night just because I wanted spaghetti.
That's true. He did.
That is the best. I'm going to say right now, Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne gives the best description of the multiverse we have ever gotten using spaghetti.
Yes. It's so clear.
Wasn't that so awesome?
The storytelling is so crystal clear. That's what and like I know what you mean, like Ellie, about loving the story because, and this is like a huge like spoiler, obviously, but the whole theme of the movie is like don't mess with time and the dangers of it. And for him to set the universe back right, his mom like has to die, and like that's the crutch point where the universe like went wrong and created a diversion. So it's like very emotional and painful, but it's like so the just the way the story like gets to its ending is it's clever, like it's good.
Yeah, I told Carlos he couldn't save his mom, but he was able to save his dad at the end, right?
Yeah.
So
and that was awesome. That was an emotional scene. Yeah,
something worked,
and that was kind of what Wayne was trying to get into him too. Is that you've got to look at it, and you can't save this person, but you could save people. You gotta you as a hero. Are you going to save the one person, or are you going to save the many? I mean, that's a running theme we've seen obviously many times before, but this really, Michael Keaton falls right back into Bruce Wayne like he never left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, he's like perfect at, and like I love that we went to the Batcave. That's like his like 1989 like Batman and Batman Returns Batcave with the car on the cliff. Like
that was so
they did
cool.
That well, they replicated that well. Like I was impressed.
The car showing up made me tear up. I love that car, and to see it on the big screen again when I never thought I would see it again was a beautiful thing.
And I think the funniest thing to me ever was like he fixes the universe, goes back to his timeline, and in his timeline, Ben Affleck is Batman, but because he altered things, the movie ends with him meeting George Clooney. and he's like, who the hell is this? And he's like, I'm Batman. And you're like, at the end, yeah.
I couldn't believe they pulled that trigger. I was like, wow, okay, I give that mad props to you.
And like in the alternate universe, like Eric Stoltz was in Back to the Future instead of Michael J. Fox. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, because he was.
I can't believe they referenced that. He was. Yeah. They started shooting with him, and they had to they had to fire him in mid. It was like really awkward and stuff.
They pushed the Eric Stoltz angle. They put. Oh my God! At the end, they do this whole thing with the multiverse that. While some of the CGI looked janky, they made Supergirl canon, and they made Superman Lives, a.k.a. Nicolas Cage as Superman, canon as well, fighting a spider. Talk about a deep cut. That's a deep cut within a deep cut, because if you know the story of Nicolas Cage and Kevin Smith and Burton's Superman, the fact that they have not only Cage as Superman in the super suit that was designed for him, but have him fighting a spider, which the producer wanted when they made Superman Lives, but since they didn't make that, the spider ended up making its way into Wild Wild West, and that's why you get that janky mechanical spider in Wild Wild West. With
Oh God, the spider was terrible in that movie. Yeah.
with Will Smith.
Yeah.
That's the reason you have the spider, is because they couldn't put it in Superman Lives, so they put it in Wild Wild West. He wanted.
Oh my God!
Great song though. Woo! When I roll into the Wild Wild West. Yeah.
But you know, having Reeves, and even though the CGI wasn't the best, having Reeves and then having Helen Slater show up too. I mean, that ending when you're going through the different multiverses, I'm just like, ooh, 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 ooh.
I don't know quite how to describe or explain this, but in not a bad way, in an interesting way, I've always felt that DC movies have a different visual effects style than Marvel movies slightly. And this movie was very DC-ish, but in a really good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spoilers.
Flash.
Again, the story is straightforward. You have seen this before, this type of story. But as far as within the context of a DC film, it's one of the upper middle films. I wasn't completely blown away, but of my top DC films, it's kind of in the middle of the top. And mainly it was because I think if this film doesn't have Batman and Supergirl in it, it really falls flat. But Batman and Supergirl worked into the story helps really support what they give you with the Flash.
Yeah, and they worked into the story really organically too. That's what was so like you were saying. They just characters weren't just thrown in a blender. Like
I mean, and you know, they established Bruce Wayne early when they go to Wayne Manor, and they almost replicate the armor room from 89 Batman perfectly, except it had windows and the one in 89 did not have windows. But other than that, when they get to the kitchen and there's the same tile and counter that was in the regular 89 Batman, I was like, oh my God. And then we see Keaton, but he's older Keaton, and we come to find out Gotham is actually safe, which is something we've never seen in any comic, in any movie.
Yeah.
Gotham is legit safe in the hands of law enforcement. You know, I love that, but yet they also established that Bruce Wayne still had moves. He could still fight, you know,
right?
Which helps later on when he gets into the bat suit again and fights.
And when he's in the bat suit and it's like, and he's fighting, even if it's like CGI enhanced or CGI, they got his style of fighting right. Like he uses his Batman 89-ish weapons and like the you know, the boomerang that like goes around. The batarang. It's awesome. Yeah, it's just they got the details right. You can feel that.
His armor is updated a bit, you know, but at the same time, you still feel like this is that Batman. It never felt out of character at all for Keaton. And like I said, Supergirl, I would love it.
Well, she was good because she was so intense in the role. Like she was really like, you know, she did a great job.
She made it her own, and we need more Supergirl.
I agree. Yep. Sure.
True that.
All right. I think that's good for our discussion of The Flash.
Sir.
What?
Are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
Nope.
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
Let's move on to our next segment, our recommendation shelf, featuring time travel movies. And who would like to go first? Wow.
Fine, I'll go first. Okay.
You go first. We can only pick one, right? I can always forget. It's one.
It's one movie.
Gotcha.
Sam, we've been doing this for 20 episodes since the very end of January. It's been one movie.
Quick question. Right. Can you only pick one? Sorry, just kidding.
So I picked Primer.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah. It's a great film. Yes.
It is a great film.
I considered this. I was talking to Mark before we started. I just didn't want to have to talk about it because it breaks my brain.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna get into too much of the details because it is one of those films where it's kind of confusing.
Yeah,
just a little.
Because like what's going on, and I was like, okay, how do they get to this point, and what are they doing here? And basically, they built this machine, and it helps them to time travel. And throughout the movie, they at one point this is basically a movie. Would I offend anybody if I said for very, very intelligent people with glasses on? AKA nerds.
It's heady sci-fi. It is definitely heady sci-fi.
Okay. And I'm just like, so I love anything movie regarding time traveling. That is my love for the movies. I can watch any movie about time traveling and I'm there and I love it. And so because I truly believe that there's another person like me somewhere in this universe. And so, and I do believe in multiverses. So, yes. So, this movie kind of took me to a place where, the idea of seeing myself in kind of pass me by and at a distance. And there's a part in this movie that happens. And these four guys, or mostly two guys, who are like engineers, and they can build things, and they understand mathematics, and they know how to build stuff. They built this machine out of really wacky stuff, actually wacky material, and very inexpensive. And they build this machine, and then they go time traveling. And I think, in my opinion, what they want, like, why would anybody want to time travel? Well, because maybe they're not happy with their life here in their present time, and they maybe want more. They want, maybe in this life you're like, not rich. So I'm going to time travel so I can go to another universe and be rich. And so you time travel, and now you're rich. You have a mansion. You are an actor, a famous actor. You're president of a country. So I feel like for me, this movie left me with this sort of, they start as friends, and they start to like build this thing, and they keep going back and forth to the, time traveling. I feel eventually they just become arrogant.
Did you notice though, when you're controlling the feeds, you notice it's parabolic? Okay, it's important. Parabolas are important. Here, look at this. I don't know, Abe. Now I'm gonna start it up and let it run for 60 seconds with nothing in it, okay? It's empty this time. That's 22. And all the equations that describe motion and heat and entropy. Just 1 minute, just a second. And all the Feynman diagrams, what's the one variable that you can turn negative and still get rational answers? That's 1 minute out here. It's not mass, it's not 22 hours. It's around 1300. 27 minutes in the box. It's odd, it's an odd number. How many minutes is that? That's 1347 minutes. Okay, yeah. 1347, man, you got that fast. Why is it odd? How did you know it was odd? Okay, because this is it, okay? This is what's going on. There's an AN and there's a BN. Okay, let's say the AN is 12 o'clock, the BN is 12:01.
But I really loved the film. It's weird, it's confusing. And Caruth, is that how you say his name? He basically he wrote, directed, and edited the movie.
Yeah.
Caruth. Yeah.
He wrote it, he directed it, he edited, which I kind of know what that feels like because I just recently did a short film myself, and I wrote it, I directed it, and I edited it, and it was crazy. I didn't compose the score, but I found a free score for the movie. I started in it, so he does too. And from what I learned is that the budget was about $7,000.
Yeah, it was a very low budget.
But it was very low budget, but it was really well done.
Yeah.
Like for a low budget film, it's an independent film, right? So. And I learned that it won the award for best drama at Sundance in 2004.
Yeah.
So that's my.
I've got to see that film because I've only seen the beginning, and like the streaming service that I watched it on, the audio started to not line up with the video, and like I've heard only great things about that movie. No, I started to watch it, and there was a problem, so I got to find it somewhere and watch it.
And shout out to Shane Carruth's second film, which I really like, Upstream Color, which came out, I think, in 2013. I really like as well. I hope he does more movies. I think he's only done those 2 films.
He's really only done those 2 feature films. We covered Upstream Color a few months ago.
Interesting film.
It is a very interesting film. It was one I hadn't actually seen, but it was one of our Perfect 10 films. And so, yeah, watching it, it was really good. I enjoyed Primer.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Upstream Color even more.
I liked it more too.
I have to see that one. I don't think I've seen that one. It's called Upstream.
I don't know
Upstream
where.
Color. It's on streaming.
Yeah.
It is on streaming. So
It's
I believe
It's on VOD. You can get it for like $3 on most VOD platforms or so.
I think this was playing in the Prime TV, actually. Prime.
It
Amazon
might be.
Prime.
It might be too. Yeah. It's
or even YouTube, maybe. But
yeah,
that's my pick.
Nice. All right, who would like to go next?
I'll fight you for it, Sam.
Oh, don't fight! Don't go so fast, guys. Don't fight over it.
You go, Mark, because I'm having trouble settling on one.
Oh, okay. I could pick from a wide range because I'm a big genre film geek. But the one that I went with is one that isn't talked about a lot, but I think it should be. It's called Biggles Adventures in Time. Biggles Adventures in Time. It came out in 80, I want to say, 86. Biggles Adventures in Time is 86. It's got Peter Cushing in it in a cameo role. And he's more than just one gimmick. He shows up in a few scenes. But basically the story is about this this executive, this kind of low-level executive, played by Alex Hyde White, named Jim and Ferguson. And he is tied in time to James Bigglesworth, who's a World War I fighter pilot, a very well-renowned World War I fighter pilot. He's almost kind of like a Captain America, but not quite. I mean, he's British for one, but it's that style. He's got his 3 other buddies that they all fight with, and they've got a good reputation. He's a wonderful pilot. He's, really well. This guy Jim is tied to him through time, and at random, when Biggles gets in trouble, Jim is pulled from the present, which is 86, into World War I. And if he's holding something or whatever, he can bring it into World War I with him, and vice versa. So throughout the film, Jim is jumping back and forth in time, and then things, and he's helping Biggles as he goes back in time with finding out this Nazi secret weapon, which involves sound. And then at some point, it kind of gets reversed, and Biggles gets pulled in forward. It's a really fun. It's very 80s. The soundtrack is very 80s, but it's a lot of fun. It's one of those fun 80s sci-fi genre films it's having fun with itself. You could tell, they're making this film. It's got a story, though. It's not just a gimmick. It does have a story, and the acting is decent in it. The directing, I like it. I thought the story is interesting. It's out on Tubi now for free if you can deal with the commercials from Tubi. But it's called Biggles Adventures in Time. It's only like 90 minutes long, and it's fun. It's a fun little mid-80s sci-fi movie that's got some, familiar faces in it. And, you're not going to waste your time if you like those kind of a little bit silly adventure films. The director of this did a number of other things, just pulling it up because I forgot to pull it up earlier. But he did a few films in the 70s. He directed Escape to Witch Mountain. And Returned from Witch Mountain. He did.
I loved those growing up. Yeah.
He directed Watcher in the Woods. And so he did a few of them. And then, he did Biggles Adventure in Time. And then he would go on a couple years later, unfortunately, and do Halloween 4, the original Nightmare. But that's beside the point, But yeah, so that's my pick. Yeah. Biggles Adventures in Time. Interesting story and just fun.
All right.
I've actually really want to see that movie now, so I'm going to find it on Tubi because it sounds like it could be fun. But
nice.
It's funny. There's a lot of like time travel serious movies that I like with like don't meddle with the power of time, darker themes. But tonight I'm going to go the more lighthearted comedy route of Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Yeah, because the one with the whales.
The one with the whales is awesome. even like it's light, it's comedy, but they have a consequential mission. If they don't succeed, like everyone on Earth dies. So just the joy of watching like Captain Kirk and his team go to like 1980s San Francisco, be totally out of place. It's like one organic great fish out of water moment out of another. And the comedy is hilarious because it's not forced. It's just the situation lends itself to hilarity, and like they're trying to like use more colorful language because everyone swears in the 80s and like they don't talk like that, so they're not used to how to do it. Like the movie's it's just great. It's a lot of fun. Leonard Nimoy directed his second directorial effort because he did Star Trek 3. That was such a success. The studio said, do what you want for the fourth one. And so he and several people came up with that plot, and it's a great movie. It's a lot of fun. So
yes,
I would highly recommend it. It like there's older special effects, but you know, it's great models, but the comedy and the story ages really well. It's really good.
Well, this is a fine place you have here, Dr. Nichols.
Thank you. And I must say, Professor, your knowledge of engineering is most impressive.
Yes, back home we call him the miracle worker.
Indeed. May I offer you something, gentlemen?
Dr. Nichols, I might be able to offer something to you.
Yes?
I noticed you're still working with polymers.
Still? What else would I be working with?
Aye, what else indeed? I'll put it another way. How thick would a piece of your plexiglass need to be at 60 feet by 10 feet to withstand the pressure of 18,000 cubic feet of water?
Oh, that's easy. 6 inches. We carry stuff that big in stock.
I have noticed. Now suppose, just suppose, I were to show you a way to manufacture a wall that would do the same job, but be only 1 inch thick. Would that be worth something to you, eh?
You're joking.
Perhaps the professor could use your computer.
Please.
Computer? Computer? Ah. Hello, computer.
I love how y'all jump with the Star Trek thing, and just don't kill me. But I never watched one Star Trek episode.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
I grew up with both. I was Star Wars and Star Trek. Yes, folks, you can love both.
Yeah.
And I love
true. Me
both
too, yeah.
because the independent channel in Milwaukee, when I was a kid, used to do a Star Trek marathon once a year during the time of the premiere of the original premiere of the 66 show. And so they'd show like 8 fan favorite episodes. And this is before like DVDs and all that. So you had to sit and watch, and with the beta machine record those episodes so you could watch them again. But you're right. Star Trek 4 is a great choice because that is also the Star Trek gateway film, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
It was the one that people who knew nothing about Trek enjoyed as much as people who enjoyed Trek.
Yep.
I had to watch that episode or find it somehow.
If you watch the movie Star Trek 4, that's your opening, and then it's going to make you want to watch the previous films, and then if you enjoy those, get into the shows. But that is definitely a gateway movie into Trek for those who are like, and you're like, no, here, watch this. Here. The one with the whales. That's what everybody says. Oh, the one with the whales.
It was their most of all the original crews, like 6 films. That was the biggest box office. Star Trek 4 via Voyage Home, because it brought in like outside audience to it. Yeah,
it was just a joyful movie too. There was no, you know,
that was our cadet movie. Every year for the cadets, they would take you to a movie in elementary school, and I was a crossing guard cadet. And so Star Trek 4 was the movie that they took us all to go see that. And I was like, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
everybody
so cool.
else, everybody else was like, huh? And I'm like, yeah.
All right. Well, my recommendation shelf pick for this week, I wouldn't say is a traditional time travel film. However, it does follow some of the rules of great time travel films. I'm speaking of one of I think the best and most underrated adult comedy in recent years, Palm Springs.
Oh, wow.
This is from the Lonely Island comedy trio, which consists of Andy Samberg, Akiva Schaefer and Jorma Taccone. They put out some very hysterical films out in recent years. Many know them from their SNL years. Like I'm thinking of what. Actually, there's another SNL tie-in this week because early this episode, I mentioned I Think You Should Leave, which
Yeah.
Anyways, so everyone remembers Dick in a Box, right? That's
Yep.
it. That was these guys.
Yeah.
So that's their sense of humor. Yeah. And they're also behind films like Hot Rod, MacGruber, Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. But back to Palm Springs. Andy Samberg is stuck in a time loop a la Groundhog Day in Palm Springs, California, and every day is a guest at a wedding that he and his girlfriend are attending. But during this time loop, there's this budding romance between him and the maid of honor. This film has a great cast: J.K. Simmons, Peter Gallagher, Kristen Milotti are in this. Best way I can describe this is if Groundhog Day is taken to an extremely meta and self-aware level. It has this distinction of striking the most lucrative deal ever for a Sundance film when Hulu offered $17,069,000 for distribution rights.
Of course.
So Andy Samberg is fantastic in this. I think this is my favorite movie of his. It's he's this nihilistic protagonist. It's very funny. Overall, just a fun sci-fi rom-com romp, and I can't recommend it enough. So it's Palm Springs, streaming currently on Hulu.
It's gonna be a beautiful wedding.
Here you are, standing on the precipice of something so much bigger than anyone here. But always remember, you are not alone.
I don't think that we met. I'm Sarah.
Niles.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice.
Niles? Don't come in here! It's gonna be a beautiful wedding.
Good day so far? Today, tomorrow, it's all the same.
You! What is going on? Hey, get out of the water!
Guess you followed me. It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
That I might have heard about.
Yeah. The second you fall asleep, it all just goes back to the start.
I drove all the way back home to Austin, and I still woke up here.
One time I smoked a bunch of crystal and made it all the way to Equatorial Guinea. It was a huge waste of time.
Has anyone else seen this one?
I have. I just remember when you talked about the wedding part of that movie. Just remember, I think maybe 2 years ago, I was just trying to watch something and it popped up and I
This
watched.
came out in
Wasn't
early
it?
COVID. Yeah. This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember now, and I'm like, oh my god, that was a funny movie. Yeah, I really liked it too. So
Good. So that is my pick. So yeah, there we go. So lastly, before we wrap it up, I'll just mention a couple of the upcoming releases coming out this upcoming weekend from writer-director Gene Stubnisky is the new coming-of-age sex comedy, No Hard Feelings. It's got Jennifer Lawrence, Andrew Barth Feldman, Laura Benatti, Natalie Morris, and Matthew Broderick.
wait,
Maddie-
you don't like Jennifer Lawrence, Mark?
No. It's not that I don't like Jennifer Lawrence. Far from it. I love her and her stuff. Everything from this trailer, I'm going, who thought this was a good idea? Because the story for this film reeks of late 90s American Pie type of humor.
It's like, how did this get a theatrical release is
Right.
kind of what's surprising.
Right. That it's
So
not surprising that it was made so much as it's going to wide release at this time in 2023 sensibility. So unless it turns things on its head and it ends up not being the way it's being presented,
It's interesting. Yeah.
I'm like, this is going to be a problematic film.
The premise is Maddie is played by Lawrence, who is an Uber driver faced with bankruptcy after her car is repossessed. She accepts an unusual Craigslist posting in which her new employers are parents who have noticed that their introverted 19-year-old son Percy is showing no interest in dating or having sex. In exchange for a Buick Regal, Maddie agrees to become their son's girlfriend and date his brains out to help him join adult life. This is like 80s or 90s, like Revenge of the Nerds, American Pie. Like it's I don't know. I mean, I am interested in this to see what this is going to be. I'm not going to run out to the theater for this, but I'm a little fascinated how and why this is getting made. And I do think Jennifer Lawrence can be a very good comedic actress.
She is.
So
she
I
can.
yeah.
No,
So
Jennifer Lawrence is really good. I mean, in almost any, I like her in almost everything she's done. I always liked her as an actress. It's just the story of this film and the concept makes me wonder who sacrificed what to get this onto the big screen and wide release.
Adult rated R comedies these are going straight to streaming now. These are not getting, so they're taking a gamble on this. But we'll see what happens,
Well, and especially since it's going up against the other movie, not to spoil what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Not just going against that, but
another comedy,
but the other clout of films that will still be in the theater at the time.
Yeah.
To work this in there is surprising that it didn't go right to streaming. I'm really
surprised. There's a lot in the theater right now. Well, there's another comedy that's also coming out in wide release. It's the 11th feature film and the latest from Wes Anderson, Asteroid City. It's a sci-fi comedy romantic drama, I guess. Features all of Hollywood.
Yeah, it does.
Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, Tilda Swinton, Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton. I don't know. Adrian Brody, Jeff Goldblum.
Margot
I can
Robbie,
listen to a dozen names. It's
there's somebody who put it like a jambalaya soup or something.
Yeah, like there's another. Every name you can think of is in this movie. I'm guessing they're not all going to get the same service.
No,
I mean, I don't know how they could do it. Anyways, but Wes Anderson, he gets like big actors in his movies, but this is a lot of names in this one. I could go on and on. It's stacked, but basically, world-changing events spectacularly disrupt the itinerary of a junior stargazing space cadet convention in an American desert town circa 1955. I don't know much more about it. I'm always kind of mixed on Wes Anderson movies. Some of them I really like. Some of them I'm kind of like on. I think he's a little more style over substance sometimes. I do like some of his more earlier movies like Royal Tenenbaums, Rushmore. I do like Moonrise Kingdom a lot, but I can go. I don't know. What do you guys think about this one?
I'm not.
I'll wait for reviews on it. And I feel the same about him. I really did love Royal Tenenbaums. I was a PA on Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh, nice.
For a little bit. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
That was good. Yeah. But I'm intrigued. But the one that really didn't sound good was the one that just came out this past fall. What was it, like the French? Not connection.
It was a French Dispatch.
The French Dispatch. Yeah, that sounded like kind of I don't know.
Well, it was very
I haven't
beloved,
seen it, so,
but I didn't connect with it as much as a lot of people liked it. I had a hard time connecting with it.
I haven't seen it yet.
I really enjoy quirky movies, so you would think that I would just be over the moon with Wes Anderson. Unfortunately for me as well, his movies are hit and miss. Some of them I really enjoy. Some of them come off as a bit too, lack of a better term, pretentious. A little bit like he thinks he's being maybe more quirky or whatnot than he really is. Just I did like the hotel one. Budapest, Hotel Budapest.
Yeah.
Budapest was
I like
awesome.
that one a lot. Yeah.
Very good.
Budapest is really good.
Upper echelon for sure.
Yeah, he gets talent. Don't get me wrong, and people flock to his movies, big name stars, because they get to play roles they don't normally play.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes the story doesn't quite hook me. Like The Aquatic Life of
Steve
Zissou, yeah.
Yeah.
That one's okay. It's quirky in that, but it was still one of those to where the story was a little bit tough for me to connect to. This one, I'd be interested in just for the names in it, because I want to see all these people on the screen at the same time.
Yeah.
And what gets me is I'm a big visual guy, and somehow he's managed with every frame in the trailer to make it look like a 50s postcard. I don't know how they did it, but the color correction and the design and everything looks like it would be right out of the 50s as a postcard. And I don't know how he did it. And that's why I want to see it, because I'm like, if you keep that visual aesthetic throughout, I'm like, yeah, I'm there. That is interesting.
But he's been playing in that sandbox his whole career pretty much, but this one especially.
Yeah.
It really does. I agree. So that is the show, everyone. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome
for joining us this week. It's been a pleasure having you with us.
Always a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you very much for having me back. So
thank you.
Nice to meet you, Mark.
Nice to meet you, Ellie.
Yeah.
And Sam, always a pleasure. Don't want to forget Sam.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yeah.
Sam, nobody cares. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. You can email us directly at backtotheframerate@gmail.com. Hit us up on Facebook and Instagram at Back to the Frame Rate, and on Twitter at Back Frame Rate. If you'd like to help us out, a great way is to just simply share our episodes. Spread the word. That would be huge. You can find past episodes of our show and other podcasts from the Weston Media Podcast Network on our website, and I'll drop the link in the show notes. So that's it. The show is over. Woo! Goodbye.
I want you to know it's over.